Hello viewers, welcome to tonight's program. I'm Hamza Idris. The controversy surrounding Nigeria's President-elect Bola Tinubu continues with the latest issue relating to the emergence of photographs and even videos show his alleged Guinean passport, which suggests dual citizenship. Summarily, Section 137 of the Nigerian Constitution states that any individual who voluntarily acquired the citizenship of a country other than Nigeria cannot be qualified for the presidency. The opposition parties and their candidates, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, and Peter Obi of the Labour Party, have filed petitions challenging the declaration of Tinubu as the winner of the presidential election. Meanwhile, the former governor of Lagos State and Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, defended Tinubu's dual citizenship by citing the constitutional right to possess dual citizenship. He also urged Nigerians to concentrate on whether or not Tinubu could deliver on his campaign promises. Before we proceed to the conversation of the day, I am compelled to first discuss this with my guests for tonight. I am joined by Baba Yusuf. He's a strategist and policy analyst. He's also the CEO of Global Trade Investment Company. Welcome to the program, Baba Yusuf.
Thank you for having me, Hamza.
Thank you. And then, anyway, before we have our second guest, maybe I should start the conversation with you. You have had the drama around Tinubu's dual citizenship. What is your take on that?
Well, it's part of the political drama, like you call it, political process. When I started hearing this, we have had snippets of it during the campaign, but it didn't precipitate as much as now. And the question some of us are asking now is why is it now an issue after the fact, after the election? That should have been, for the opposition party, maybe a campaign strategy, for the electoral empire, maybe an issue to evaluate, because during the accreditation or evaluation of candidates, these are the things to consider before
they ought to have been brought up, because
these have been vetted, and candidates are fully qualified in line with all the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Yes.
So now this issue being flagged by the critical stakeholders on the opposing side, and then we have an umpire that is supposed to flag this issue if the issue is there, leave some of us that are trying as much as possible to be apolitical to say, hey, hold on. Is it really something that we should look at, or is it one of those political diatribes? Whatever the case may be, now the smoke has been ignited, and like they will say in my place, very soon the snake will come out of the hole. The fact will be heard.
Baba Yusuf, this appears to be double-edged. Double-edged in the sense that there is a constitutional provision that you should not obtain dual citizenship. Yes. Now, in the event Tinubu is found guilty of concealing vital information, even though you're not a lawyer, you think the sledgehammer will actually descend on him?
That is why I was saying that it is a bit
dicey,
odd. INEC was supposed to vet and clear.
I'm actually referring to the candidate. Why should people conceal certain vital information?
Well, for me, talking about lawyers or no lawyers, I wouldn't want to jump to gun to say it is a fact he has dual citizenship. I don't have that fact. We are just assuming, or there's a presumption of that. There are allegations of that flying around for those that think they have the facts.
And honestly, up to this evening, I am also entertaining that, if not for the fact that former Lagos governor, as we said earlier, agreed that Tinubu has dual citizenship. I was thinking it was just the normal diatribe, as you
so now it's going to be tested. If the candidate concealed, the deed has been done. This is going to test the Constitution. This is going to test the regulators and all the critical stakeholders of ensuring the sanctity of the Constitution and that the process is followed. This is also going to confirm if indeed the candidate has concealed any information that is going to come to bear. And this is going to be another yet again litmus test to test the political process, to test Nigeria and see if we are really ready or we are really making progress.
Yes, and then for the electoral empire, I want to have your take. Beyond, of course, asking candidates, right, to fill forms. I've seen before, there is where they said, are you a citizen of another country? You know, if yes, which country and all that. Should they just collect papers from aspirants without subjecting them to vetting, or without even calling for public opinion as to whether Nigerians have objections, maybe to display them ahead of time? They used to do that, right? So that Nigerians would now say, look, Mr. A is actually a citizen of Guinea or citizen of Atlanta or citizen of Ghana or wherever. How do you think they can actually beef up their surveillance so that instead of going back and forth, because definitely if this comes to pass, we will have constitutional crisis in Nigeria?
Hamza is still not even beefing up performance. It's a function of doing their job. Compliance with requirements of their job. When you ask for people to present information, it is not, of course, for you to just collect and keep, especially for a critical, process like this. The objective, ab initio, of asking for that information is such that the information will be confirmed and vetted in line with the principles of due diligence. This is no jokes. This is affirmation, of a process or following due process to get to have the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I mean, with all due respect, even for hiring house domestic staff and all that, you try to do due diligence.
Yeah.
So it will be very unfortunate if INEC didn't do that in this particular instance or in all
other
instances. Like I said, this will test it, because this will precipitate the issues. This will force the hands of critical stakeholders to come out and say, hey, these are the facts. Like INEC, we have done the due diligence, we have confirmed. For President-elect, hey, this is the situation on ground, because this is where we are, as we are today. But the Nigerian polity is evolving, and these things are playing out in a way and manner that at the end of the day, I believe they will strengthen our political process and better our political evolution.
Okay, finally on this, all over the world, framers of constitution are seen as wise men.
Yes.
Yeah.
And women.
And women, yes. Yes. What do you think is responsible for having that subsection that you shouldn't have dual citizenship?
To my mind, and I believe it is so, is to ensure loyalty and absolute commitment to the Nigeria project. To also ensure that you don't have a president that has multiple allegiance in what I call a spy in the presidential seat, or an agent of another country as the president of your country.
Yeah.
Is to ensure what is enshrined in the Constitution. During the oath of office, you hear total allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. To ensure that in spirit and in action is what it is. And one of the provisions or requirements or provisions is to say, okay, if somebody does not have the dual citizenship, it presupposes that it is highly unlikely that that person will have more than one loyalty. Yeah. Well, we've seen people that have capitulated to other nationalities, during the Cold War and even recently. But I think this
even 2 days ago, Nigeria granted such opportunity to
other people,
hundreds of people.
Yeah, so I think that is the idea, and it's a germane one, and it is a critical one. To that extent, I am personally not expecting to hear this conversation to be a matter that is being discussed today, including those that flag the issue now.
Yes.
Because it appears we are all running about knee-jerk activities and
looking for short route.
Yes, because this is a critical information that could have been raised in the beginning. Of course, whenever the information comes, it can be used, to ensure this is done. It is within their rights. It now remains for the stakeholders to come clean and come through.
And honestly, even though I say it's the last question, but I'm tempted to ask these people that have the wherewithal, that they take their wives to other countries to deliver their children in order to acquire the citizenship of that country. Will it in any way affect those children, or maybe we should leave this for lawyers to talk?
No, if you are asking my own opinion,
yes,
it is a function of the core values of the parents. Baba Yusuf and his wife, they want to build a home and the future of their home and their children. What is their objective, short to long term? That is what will define what they do.
Whether you should go to America and deliver your child.
Of course, it's a function of where we are as a nation. People are looking for fallback option, Hamza. And you don't blame them for that. It is our reality. Until the country gets to a stage where you are sure about where your country is and where it is headed. Only then you don't need to tell people not to have dual citizenship. Maybe they could for other reasons. Remember, even recently, Prince Harry, a member of the British monarch, tried to get another citizenship. So it depends on the objective, actually. It may be political, it may be economic, whatever. But whatever it is, let us strive to make our country such that people will be more interested in having, the citizenship of Nigeria than other. And interestingly, you see politicians, you see, top-line businessmen and women, doing this because we all know how fragile our state is, and people are actually looking out for themselves and their own.
Thank you very much. Well, viewers, we will take a short break now, and when we return, the issue of the day, which is on subsidy removal and other sundry issues, commences. Don't go away. Welcome back, viewers. On tonight's program, we will be revisiting the $800 million loan secured by the government to share among 50 million Nigerians as palliatives to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal expected in June. In the same vein, we'll also be looking at the ongoing investigation into the alleged illegal sale of crude oil to China and the use of funds recovered through whistleblowers without National Assembly appropriation. Recall that the House of Representatives is threatening to summon the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, and the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation to answer queries. I still have my guest with me in the studio, Baba Yusuf, strategist and policy analyst. He's also the CEO of Global Trade Investment Company. Once again, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And we are joined virtually by Dr. Isa Abdullahi, a lecturer and former HOD at the Department of Economics and Development Studies, Federal University, Kashare in Gombe State. Dr. Isa, welcome to the program.
Nice to be with you this time again. Happy to be with you.
Yeah, Dr. Isa connects with us from Jos, the Plateau State capital. Baba Yusuf, the 800 million, is it a loan or is actually a support from the World Bank? Because many Nigerians are still asking questions, and government, is really not straightforward in saying that, okay, this is a loan that we are going to pay at so time.
We are told by the federal government that it is a grant. There are different, interventions given by the likes of World Bank to cushion the effect of situations like this. We are told by the federal government, I have not seen the documents, that define the relationship. What we understand is such grants normally come, to people, first of all in tranches, secondly as either developmental or containment measures interventions that are not actually loans, while in some cases they are given as interventions that will be repaid back, with very, very lean margins in a very convenient and comfortable manner, quote and unquote.
Yes.
So until I've seen the letters, with regards to the grant given, I will take it as a grant that we know by default, which is to provide that intervention over a period. Of course, there will be some provisos here and there that require some, plowback. I can call it. These people, we say they will always give you a great gift, so to speak. But that being said, it is a grant. I just want to make a small correction to your intro when you mentioned the $800 million is for, the support of 50 million Nigerians. What we heard is the $800 million is to provide intervention or succor to cushion the effect of the removal of oil subsidy.
Yeah.
And the federal government, in its wisdom, as stated by the Minister of Finance, Zainab, said that one of the interventions they will give, out of this 800 million is to support 10 million households that, according to her, translate to 50 million people. But they also mentioned something about, engaging the labor unions to provide vehicles to ferry the staff around, and other interventions that will all be drawn from this 800 million.
Yeah.
So it's over and beyond that 50 million
household. Even though they also said this is just the first tranche of.
Yes, like I said, it's supposed to come in tranches of the 800 million.
Yeah.
And even for this one, they are going to provide the palliatives. They call it a palliative to 50 million people, Nigerians, more vulnerable. I have an issue with that because you have,
we are going to discuss,
numbers that will tell us that is it 50 million people that are the most vulnerable, when the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics have already told us that about 133 million Nigerians are multidimensionally poor. And to my mind, that presupposes, or that directly speaks to the most vulnerable. And if you are doing 50 million,
what about the rest?
What are the parameters? How did you arrive at the 50 million? Who are they? What part of the country are they from? And on and on.
So many questions. Dr. Issa, what is your take on this 800 million? Should the World Bank give Nigeria this money and say, okay, whether it is grant, whether it is loan or whatever, that it should be for, palliatives ahead of final removal of subsidy in June?
Thank you very much, our viewers. Obviously, I've been following this event media, and sometimes I take time to read some of the documents about a particular issue. But the case is, I just want to find out within myself, if assuming the World Bank gives Nigeria a grant of $800 million, which translates almost around 371 billion naira on official rate, why the World Bank give us a grant? Remove subsidy in Nigeria in the first place? That's my question.
Okay.
Are they trying to see that remove subsidy, is there any gain in the World Bank, or it will give Nigerian, masses a kind of development? What I just see is immediate after removal of subsidy, we are about to have very high prices of oil in Nigeria, maybe around 500, 600 naira per liter. And I'm really, really afraid with the already overheated poverty indices in Nigeria. Over 130 million Nigerians are classified to be very poor. And if we do that, we're going to have more number of poor people in the system. If not, it's likely going to be more than 80% of the people will be more poorer. So, what is even the subsidy all about? We don't need to have subsidy, assuming we have a functional, refineries in Nigeria. If Nigerian refineries, if we can refine the oil Nigeria is having, we produce it in Nigeria, we refine it in Nigeria, and then we distribute in Nigeria, I don't think we need that much subsidy, huge amount of money to do the subsidy. But I'm looking at it from multinational companies, international organizations, of the major players in the IMF and World Bank are the companies that are to come in to have the resources in the country and to get more profits. That's why those interest groups there at the World Bank will have that mind to say, we will give you money to come in and support your people. But I'm just looking at it this way. Assume we have now that amount of money given. Then my problem is there was a time when we had WAPI. WAPI is also similar to what we are going to, subsidy removal program of a former government, I believe the Jonathan government. They gave some money to Nigerians, and some house were imported and distributed, randomly in the country. And was that able to give us the right thing we were looking for? We have a lot of programs, assumed to be supportive programs for the masses of Nigeria, but how are the efficiency and efficacy of those policies? Have they really reached the heights? Have they really given us the results we wanted to get? So I'm just thinking, we may come to a point whereby the government will say it has distributed money to Nigerians, and at the end of the day, we will have a record of people that are supposed to have been given this money, but the money didn't go to them.
Yeah.
We are likely to have a situation whereby those people, the hem of affairs, will have their friends, will have their girlfriends, will have their spouses, will have their political allies, will be put in the names of those people supposed to be given subsidy, support amount of it. And at the end of the day, the people in the background who don't have what to eat, after prices have gone high, those people who don't even know how to send their children to school as a result of increases in the hardships may not even get the money. Because in a lot of instances, you will hear ministers, people at the top aim of affairs of the country will come out and say, we have distributed money. We have distributed a lot of, but go down to the masses, go to the villages, for instance. Find out what the people in the village, have they seen these monies? Have they seen these packages? So it's going to be difficult. The method even to distribute, that's the problem. How many Nigerians have bank accounts? How many of them have access to even electronic system of transferring the money? Or is government going to be taking individuals or the minister to the villages to go deep down into the interiors of the villages and meet the villagers there and give them the monies there? Or how will they classify the poorest people in the country and then to go down to where they are to make sure that the monies given to them reach them?
Right.
And then with little available time the government is having, just about roughly less than 2 months, how can this be achieved?
Okay,
and if we don't achieve it, what will happen to the next government? Will the next government have interest to do the same thing? So these are some of my reservations.
Yeah, you have raised quite a number of issues, and I would like to take Baba Yusuf on some of these. Number one, he went back memory lane, 2012, Shopee, which was partial removal of subsidy. Was there any departure? Was there any improvement from 2012 when Jonathan did the Shopee thing, up to the time Buhari took over in 2015, and now Buhari has exhausted 8 years? The intervention period was meant to actually address the issues that necessitated subsidy. Have we made any attempt to address those underlying issues?
The answer is capital N and O, no, Hamza. And while you are talking about Shopee, you can also bring the issue of the COVID-19 intervention, quote and unquote palliatives. The vagaries of COVID came in, and we had the kind of money
in 2020
that were voted for by the Federal Executive Council, approved by Mr. President, to say let's support the vulnerable people of the society again. Like you mentioned in 2012, and Doctor also mentioned. The issue is this: when there is no foundation or strong foundations and pillars ab initio for a project, it will not last, it will not stand. And all we are hearing right from 2012 to date is about palliatives. Where is this overall overarching strategic blueprint to deal with the issue of removal of oil subsidy? Some of us believe that the oil subsidy is a scam, and it is not really impacting in the mid to long term on the populace of Nigeria, on the progress of Nigeria, and if so, should be removed. But the hows and the whens and the modalities have been the issue. The same way we feel that non-removal of subsidy will continue to promote corruption, It's the same way they are, we are seeing how the removal of subsidy with these interventions coming in with the gray areas and the black spots leave much to be desired as with regards to will the objective be achieved. Moving on from 2012 and 2020 and talking about now with the issues of the palliatives.
Yes.
Are we going to be addressing the potential impact of the removal of subsidy from a transactional one-off transfer? 2 days ago or a day ago, I read somewhere about transfers of 5,000 naira or 10,000 naira to accounts of people.
To cushion the effect.
How can 5,000 naira, Hamza, cushion effect of an oil subsidy that will be removed in June 2023? Because they have started making moves to say they want to transfer that money less than 40 days to the end of this administration. To
prepare the minds of...
Who are those people? Who are they? And where are they from? And how are they going to get the money to them?
So are you now questioning the intention? Are you questioning the intention?
I'm questioning the rationale behind rushing to disburse these funds that have been given as grant or whatever within such a short term, whereby you have an incoming administration that has a strategic blueprint, short to long term, including the palliative intervention measures, allow this new government to come in, take all the capital and liability that you are leaving behind, and decide to proceed accordingly with their master plan to deliver dividends of democracy to Nigerians.
Why do you think they want to disburse this money before they leave?
To be honest, I have been asking that question. I don't know the answer, and it's the same question I will also ask as regards to you vote over 100 billion, naira or dollars to execute projects that will never be executed in the next 20 days.
You are referring
at the twilight of the administration.
To the recent
fake almost every day you see billions and billions being voted in naira and dollars. And the Federal Executive Council has now become a transactional, council with due respect that comes every other week and vote billions and billions in naira and dollars.
What they are meant to be doing.
These are supposed to impact on the populace for 7.5 years or for almost 8 years, because we are basically less than 40 days to the end of this 8-year tenure.
Yes.
I thought these activities would have been planned and synchronized to deliver dividends of democracy for the past 8 years. What one has not been able to achieve in 8 years, how can you as a government achieve in 40 days? And interestingly, the All Progressives Congress is handing over to an incoming, president that is of the All Progressives Congress. I am a bit worried that there will be unintended consequences, if that is what I will call it, by these actions to leave, an incoming administration, a president-elect, with huge number of problems to add to the problems already. Nigerian Bureau of Statistics reeled out potential debt stock of over 77 trillion, Hamza. We have debt to equity, debt to GDP ratio over 23%. We have inflation rate of over 21%. IMF has told us we are moving at almost 3.2 to 3.5% growth rate, economy-wise. But the projection shows it will slow down to 2.9 by 2024. An incoming administration you are handing over to, you are bequeathing these economic parameters to, and then you are running on a fast lane to build more liabilities or stumbling blocks to already a situation that is as dire as it is, for the incoming administration. It is very worrisome for me. I don't know the logic, I don't know the rationale, and I'm very, very unhappy about it.
All right, Dr. Issa, you heard Baba Yusuf here saying the Buhari administration should leave anything about subsidy, including the disbursement of this $800 million to the incoming administration to decide on what to do with it. Are you on the same page with him?
To be candid with you, the time frame is not by their side. They have spent 8 years. And they need to have done all these things long ago. Now, what are we trying to do now? How can they reach the targeted people within the short time? And besides, from what even Baba said, can you imagine now, if the government decides to say, we want to give out money for palliatives, subsidy, you are going to remove it permanently. The removal, you are dashing out maybe 10, 20,000 for
It's even
people.
5,000
And
what they announced. Yes.
20,000 naira that cannot even buy, just, cannot take even an individual a day in his life. So are we doing justice to the people of the country? Are we being just for the people? Why can't we look at the right things, the major problems causing the problem that necessitated the oil, the oil subsidy, and then who are we with first?
What
Then
are those
even if we
issues?
don't even give palliatives for people, we
What are
can
those
remove
issues that
them,
you think?
we will be nice.
What are those issues that you think, if the government, has handled in the last 8 years, they wouldn't have been scrambling to cushion subsidy at this hour?
When this government came, I was having much hope in the government that they could bring in technocrats, expert people from within and outside the country who are technically, equipped to handle issues of the economy. But to my dismay, the economic of the country has not performed to my expectation. I'm really, really disappointed with it. I'm sorry to say this publicly, but then they would have started looking into the issues of what are we having at ground on ground. We have poor functional refineries. Can we do anything good to make sure that the whole oil we consume in the country is being produced and refined inside Nigeria? If we had that, I want to believe the government may not even subsidize the oil, because if we have it at the back of our mind that this is the oil of our own country, if we want to sell the oil at the international community at the rate ruling in the international market, the one we are going to consume locally, and we have local refineries, whether private or publicly owned, we supply to them at a subsidized rate, or supply them at a domestic rate so that they can refine it for our own domestic consumption. But now we don't have the refineries for the period of years. In fact, virtually nothing has done to even improve. In fact, it's totally grounded that now we don't produce any. We rather import the whole of our consumption into the country. And why do we have continuously having, problems, scams here, corruption here, and there, and then we will now compound it with the more collecting more loan from the IMF, getting more grants. There is no country in the world, no IMF will give you money free of charge. Just collect money and share it with your people. They can do that. They'll only give you grant as a form of loan that is soft loan. You pay them with the overheated debt indices having in the country. So I think the government now is about to wind up. The government should concentrate on trying to hand over to the next administration. If they have advice, they have clues, they have things they have to, to give the incoming government, do this. We see this as a problem or as a part of our. Please improve on this one, because it's an APC handling to APC government. They can have, a synergy, handing over ceremony and handing over processes, so that the incoming government can see to it and then sit down, see the rationale behind trying to do this. But now, I'm honestly, they don't have time for that. They don't know how to do that. And the policy document, the planning of how to it,
it's not there. Yeah, you had Dr. Issa. That is like he was saying, if things were done right, Nigeria can just say, okay, at home is give away the oil for Nigerians. Then abroad, you talk about the subsidy or whatever, international price and all that. Why is this government really at high speed at the tail end of the administration? Why are they sleeping all this while?
That is why some of us are dumbfounded. This reactionary and especially reactionary behavior, especially
and the sudden hurry
at the twilight of the administration. While we are at it, while Dr. Issa is talking, I reeled out some numbers earlier. I'm sorry to break our hearts again to mention that, the inflation rate will skyrocket
with the removal
when this, subsidy is removed, added to the other economic indices.
Based on the indices that you mentioned.
No, apart from those indices are there,
yes,
without prejudice to the removal of subsidy, Hamza.
Wow. So it's like another projection.
When the subsidy is removed, at the time it will be removed, there will be another catalytic effect on the economy. The IMF confirmed, Hamza, that about 80% of Nigerians are operating in the informal sector.
Yes.
Right? And the impact, the inflation impact on the informal sector, will be something I don't want to imagine now without the requisite safeguards put in place to save
shock absorbers,
the citizens of this country, even if the subsidy will be removed. And that is why, to my mind,
yes,
during the campaign, Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu, like almost all the other presidential candidates, were more favorably disposed to the removal of the subsidy. But I tell you, the day the president-elect would take over the mantle of leadership and open what I call the reality book of the handover notes, a lot of things may take a new shape in his mind, in his thinking, and subsequently in his overall
strategic. Is that what affected Buhari maybe when he took over in 2015?
And if it did, and indeed it did, what did they do? What did Mr. President Buhari do to ensure that he's able to mitigate and move forward in a positive trajectory? Now, my concern is moving forward.
Yes.
For Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu to inherit what I believe he doesn't even know what he's going to inherit until he opens what I call the reality book.
But there is transition committee and
absolutely.
He has sent 2 people.
The day the handover is given, the subsidy removal, strategy may be tweaked without prejudice to the thinking of the president-elect. But what he will see the reality, of course, from experience, don't forget the attempt to remove subsidy has been in the campaign promises of presidential candidates that became president, including
even
Jonathan,
the military.
It has been a recurring issue. But when they sit on the hot chair and they open what I call the book of reality, a lot of dimensions will come into play that require some tweaks here and there. I'm not saying that it will not be removed, but possibly not in the way and manner it is expected. And that is why I'm concerned that the President Muhammad Buhari's cabinet are in a rush to further make it more difficult for the incoming administration to deal with these issues, as it were, building up to the 29th May, 2023. So, because of that, I feel that, APC is setting itself for another round of fall. Don't forget that the removal of subsidy is a whole project on its, in itself.
Yeah.
I hear Dr. Issa about maintenance of the refineries. That is not going to be feasible because these refineries have also become bottomless pit, of slush funds of how our monies are ferried away. It will require some 4 years strategic action plan to have maybe new refineries or to build capacity to modular refineries or whatever for us to have refineries that work. Until that is done, what are we supposed to do to erase or delete this cartel of oil subsidy, game that they are playing, but with positive impact on the polity? The $800 million is called a palliative intervention.
Yeah.
What about the developmental framework? What about what I call the continuous living and livelihood of Nigerians over and beyond palliative that are supposed to be knee-jerk activities? Talking about the cars or the vehicles that will be procured for the civil service. Hamza, how much percentage of the civil servant constitute the populace of Nigeria? It's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
Then you will hear scams or businesses or schemes about the procurement issues, where how much will the vehicle be procured, how much will be the maintenance cost, how much will be the fueling cost, who is going to carry that on the budget of Nigeria, in the pockets and the purses of Nigerians.
An entirely new racket.
So to me, it is a disaster that is being created to add that to another disaster that is already on the table. I tell you what, I don't envy the president-elect taking this mantle of leadership, no matter the capacity. I hope and pray that God will give our leaders the enablement, the wisdom, and the political will to turn around the economy of this country, because, to be honest, the future is very bleak with the actions being taken and the actions that will continue in the next 20 days, which to my mind is making me to cringe in my seat.
Dr. Issa, what is your take on the $23.3 million, consultancy from this 800 million coming from the World Bank?
I was sometimes back when President Buhari came newly, he was the first person to speak against huge amounts of consultancies within and outside Nigeria. In fact, if I can remember, he was taught against huge money being spent on consultancies, because one of the ways to you take away the whole of the country is to use people outside Nigeria or people inside the government to hire some consultants to speak, or consultants in court, for them to procure or lobby, or for them to process, or for them to administer, or any kind of the language they use to get consultants. So that amount of money is that large amount of money can solve a lot of problems within the country. And one bad thing about IMF loan is the conditionalities. If you see them removing subsidy, they will in their companies to make more profit, even if the people of Nigeria will cry, even if they will all die, even people will be living with no food to eat, if large number of people will have no clothes to wear, even if all the children of Nigeria will not go to school, so long as they will get the profits of what they want, they will do what they want, and they can support government to do that. If not, I can tell you there is no way we can say, we will say that we are having this money, take the money, go and eat food with it, and then we will remove subsidy. Long time of the subsidy will stay for the next 20, 30 years, will stay forever, and then you will take 20,000 naira, 10,000 naira for people. Consultancy fee will aggravate more of the burden payment of the taxation. Because at the end of the day, if you are given 800 million, then it's not about 23 million is being removed. When you compare it to naira, it's over 1 billion naira. So that is very serious. It's very serious. Likely people in the government who are hiring, who are at the helm of affairs, they are likely to be the people in collaboration with the consultants, maybe percent of what I can get from their percentage of what we can. So these are the commissions we may get here and there, are the likely to driving what we are seeing today. So we don't want a situation whereby the incoming government will inherit a lot of problems now, and they cannot solve even the immediate ones, the developmental ones that are likely to come in the future. And we are going to have a very, very brilliant future if we don't plan strategically with the economy. And I think the economy, what I would just advise the incoming government is the government should never be thinking of just trying to solve economic problem by just maybe when you hear if you remove subsidy, it will have a solution. No, you have to get a committee. You have to get economic advisory committee. Initially, we had what was called the National Economic Intelligence Committee. There was the Institute for Social and Economic Research in Nigeria, who used to analyze a lot of things of the Nigerian economy, come up with policy proposals of the government, come up with, way for the government economically. But now there is no Institute for Social and Economic Research. There is no National Economic Intelligence Committee, and the government is likely not even having a strong or functional economic team. So it's reliant on just maybe the mercy of what the Federal Executive Council does. And I'm sorry to say, the people in the Federal Executive Council may not be that strategically, economically intelligent to give them what the government needs. And we need to have sound planning. We cannot just, we want to solve problems just by statements on the radio, and then we have just started. How can you get the money? If you get the money, what's the interest rate? What is the consultancy fee? How will you pay for the money? And then how are we going to disburse this money to give us the results we want? How are we going to, get a feedback mechanism? How can we get monitoring and evaluation so that we can have the solution for what we're, all things have to be put technically on plan, and they have to be deliberated. Large number of people have to come in, economic experts, central bank, finance ministry, the business cycle, the business community, experts from the grassroots, farmers, traders alike, get their representatives so that they can give you a clearer picture of what you are going to do. Representatives of your trade unions, trade organizations, NGOs, come up with them all the time, get economic, get a summit that will give you a technical document of how to implement, how to do this policy. So I want the incoming government to be an all-inclusive government, a government that does not close door for experts to come in and give their own, expressions and ideas. The government that will open up for the Nigerian Economic Society, Nigerian Economic Summit. But in the government that is going out, I've not had any contribution from even the Nigerian Economic Society pertaining the Nigerian economy. So that's what.
Yes. Okay, Baba Yusuf, you can see Dr. IPS very angry
yes.
with this
And rightly so.
Mind-boggling figure, $23.3 million for consultancy. I saw you nodding your head.
Yes.
What is consultancy?
Yeah, actually, you know, I don't have all the numbers, though. That
yes, but let me read something here.
Because there are other numbers.
Yes. Let me read something here. They said a breakdown of the 23.3 million consultancy showed expenses of 10.7 million will be incurred for goods, works, non-consulting services, consulting services, and operating costs for the National Social Safety Nets Coordinating Office and other projects, while 12.58 million will be for goods, works, non-consulting services, operating costs for the National Cash Transfer Office, and other operating costs. It appears very technical.
My question is this. We had the Shopee project.
Yeah.
We have I forgot the name of this project that was executed by the Buhari administration.
Okay, in the office of the vice president.
Of the vice president.
Exactly.
You know, and we have the COVID interventions. All these interventions or projects had vehicles, mechanisms, and frameworks to deliver those interventions. Why not just use those mechanisms and frameworks?
Vehicles, yeah.
Why are you creating, you know, avenues or vehicles that will suck up into the cost that we know is not free money already in a situation where we are in dire straits socio-economically? If truly people have been doing their jobs and the frameworks are there, all you need to do is to reapply the templates in the spirit of the situation we are in. I believe that at the right time, in the right situations, consultants can come and do their job. But what I'm saying is, this is not a novel project or a novel concept, as the case may be, of interventionist in terms of palliative and all this.
Will you advise maybe the incoming government, maybe someone among the technical team of Tinubu, or even a Nigerian like you or me, to approach court to stop the outgoing administration from pausing this money?
You know, it's a catch-22 situation, Hansa. I'm afraid, and I'm sorry to say, even if you do that, it's not going to happen. We are in a situation in Nigeria, you know. The moment somebody even goes to court to get a process to stall this project, even if you get the court to issue an order, will the federal government comply? Secondly, another party that will claim to be a Nigerian will go and issue or seek for a cross or counter process to neutralize that which you want to do. All what, in the next 40 days? You know, and don't forget, even the court has processes for you to get that. And there are requirements for you to say you have the locus to actually go and stop, you know, either by order or mandamus or whatever. I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to go into that and stop that. But what is the objective? And what will you achieve at the end of the day? Because to my mind, I would rather go for something that the objective is clear and is possible. You know, they will not comply even when you get such an order. And the question is, will even the courts give that order? You know, so it is a very sad situation. And I'm saddened by the fact that General Muhammadu Buhari became president, you know, on the tide of anti-corruption, of promising the delivery of good governance, a man that we know has been above board and we saw as the hope of the downtrodden in Nigeria.
But was surrounded by
8 years later, we are here at the twilight of the administration. Is a project bazaar, is a project jamboree. The future is bleak. There are no economic solutions being proffered. I don't see preparation being made to adequately provide for the incoming president to come in with minimal damage, with minimized risk or mitigated risk, for him and his team to take us to a better, you know, place in the history of this country. But rather, I keep on seeing stumbling blocks. I keep on seeing more risk being created. It is unfortunate. It is sad. Only God will help.
Thank you very much. Dr. Issa, I wish I could give you just a minute to say something on the crude oil theft and the whistleblowing issue without, spending all the whistleblowing money without recourse to the National Assembly. But time not on our side, but will you say something just in 10 seconds, please?
Well, in Nigeria, the crude oil theft is something that is common. I remember way back, even Obama was the president of the United States of America. had it too tough on him, to the fact
You
that
have
he
10
even
seconds,
sent
Dr.
Secretary of
Issa.
State
Yeah.
Africa to come into the National Assembly to tell the National Assembly that a lot of people in Nigeria are stealing the oil of Nigeria. And it's very unfortunate. Just of recent, you've seen a lot of people, catching a lot of big people trying to in the same thing called business as usual.
All right.
So if
Thank
we
you.
don't do something, we will keep on having OPEC giving us the quota of 2 million are not going to supply up to 1.3 million.
All right,
And that
thank you
is
very much,
hitting on the
Dr.
revenue
Issa.
drive
I'm
of Nigeria.
compelled
That's
to
really
hold your breath
unfortunate.
there because we have run out of time. We thank you for joining us from Jos via Zoom for the program. I was Dr. Issa, a lecturer at the Department of Economics and Development Studies, Federal University, Kashere. Thank you for coming to the program. And Baba Yusuf, Strategist and Policy Analyst, also CEO, Global Trade Investment. Thank you very much for coming to the program.
As always, it's a pleasure, Hamza.
Thank you.
Thank you
That's a wrap on today's edition. Viewers, thanks for watching and do join us again. I'm Hamza Idris.